Hello, I'm Pete Cardon. I'm a professor at the University of Southern California. It's a pleasure to give you a quick overview of my business communication textbook. This textbook builds on the strong tradition of other leading books, but I believe better positions students to develop the skills and the attitudes to succeed and lead in an increasingly networked world. The textbook starts with an entire chapter on personal credibility. My experiences with business professionals, and research backs this up well, suggest that personal credibility is the core of successful communication. In fact, credibility is one of the essential characteristics of leaders and is even in higher demand in a networked world. This concept of personal credibility is then carried forward in each chapter in the textbook. The book contains 3 chapters on interpersonal communication. I believe the coverage is deeper than most business communication textbooks. It includes topics such as emotional intelligence, civility, teamwork and meetings, listening, and an entire chapter on intercultural communication. In addition to the depth of these chapters, I think one of the strengths is that I carry these ideas throughout the remainder of the book, including the writing chapters. Given how rapidly technology is changing how professionals communicate in a networked world, I devote an entire chapter to electronic communications, such as emails and social networking. I also feature the latest technology into each chapter as appropriate. I think there are several unique aspects about how I handle the technology. I focus on principles for digital communications, online reputations, boundaries, privacy, issues that outlast the technologies themselves. Also, I focus on positioning students to communicate via social media. Most business communication textbooks focus simply on public social networking networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I do include these public social networks, but I adopt a bigger view of social media that best serves the interests of our business students. I emphasize social media for communication between business professionals, whereas what you see in most business communication textbooks in terms of social media is essentially limited to marketing communications. Like most business communication textbooks, I include chapters about routine messages, persuasive messages, and bad news messages. I consider these useful types of messages for students to master, and the business communication tradition, I believe, is quite good here. But in each chapter, I have adopted what I consider slightly more contemporary and more nuanced advice than you'll see in most current textbooks. I also include examples of not only written communications, but also oral communications for these types of messages. One of the things that I keep hearing that's of growing importance is covering public relations messages and crisis communications. I'm really hearing this from 2 sources. One is from business communication instructors across the country, and the other is from business school alumni on curriculum advisory boards. As a result, I've added 1 chapter about public relations and crisis communications. I'm not aware of any other major business communication textbooks that contain a chapter in these areas. And I think this chapter is particularly critical for leaders in a networked world, where enhancing and safeguarding a company's reputation is increasingly challenging with the many channels, including social media, where stakeholders receive information and also where they make their views public. I've included 2 chapters on report writing. I view these chapters as particularly effective in providing thorough, precise, and most importantly, useful reports for decision makers. There are examples of primary research reports, secondary research reports. There's also examples of business proposals and business plans. In each case, I think this textbook is better at helping students connect research to real business problems. I've also included 2 chapters for presentations, one about preparation, one about delivery. I believe these chapters are unique in terms of understanding and connecting with audiences. Most textbooks tend to provide these chapters almost entirely in abstract discussion. The chapters in my textbook provide specific examples about how to connect deeply and build trust with audiences. The book concludes with a chapter on employment communication, which I think contains more complete and strategic coverage than the major business communication textbooks. It provides tools for students to think strategically about their professional reputations. It also provides specific examples about how to respond to job interview questions. Overall, this textbook is designed with a vision of developing leaders who will navigate the many emerging cultural and technological forces of a networked world.